Hey guys, so we have a lot of stuff that we kind of need to get through today. We're going to take some notes on Congress. We're going to compare and contrast the two houses of Congress, and then you're going to look at how a bill gets passed into a law in our Congress. This is going to be a little mini unit. It's going to be super short on the legislative branch. Friday will be the end of it, and we'll end with just an online quiz. After that, we'll move on to the executive branch, and we'll kind of have those normal length units. Some of you may already know that we are going full distance learning after the end of this week. So in this video, we're going to go over the notes, directions, and what to expect so far at the end of the week. Things haven't been 100% decided quite yet, but I'm going to give you some things that I already know. Okay, so go ahead and get your notes set up. Remember the top right here, those will be the headings. Think about how you want to highlight your important information like vocab words, and then writing down just the bolded and underlined information. So here's your heading: Bicameral Congress. We have a bicameral Congress, and what that means is there's just two houses of Congress. The job of the legislative branch, you guys already know, is to create laws. And this two houses of Congress system was created during the Great Compromise, where they had the New Jersey plan, where they wanted two senators or two representatives from each state to give small states more power. The Virginia plan was like, no, we have more people, so we should have representation based off our population size. In order to make both states or groups of states happy, they have the House of Representatives, where the amount of members depends on the size of the population of that state, and then the Senate is two from each state, no matter how big or small that state is. Both of these houses of Congress work at the U.S. Capitol building. They also work here in their state most of the time, but they go and meet and vote on legislation in the Capitol building in Washington. Go ahead and put the video on pause if you need more time to write this down. Push play when you're ready. All right, new heading, House of Representatives. I just shortened it to HOR. If that makes sense to you, feel free to do that. Writing down just the bolded and underlined information. So the House of Representatives, the size depends on the state's population. There are currently 435 members, and that's been the amount of members we've had since 1911. Every state has at least one member. And in order to become a representative, you need to be 25 years of age or older, a U.S. citizen for at least 7 years, and a legal resident from the state and district elected in. So what that means is if you are representing the district that Buffalo is in, you would have to live in that district. You couldn't live like way up in Duluth and represent this one. All right. If you need more time to write that down, put the video on pause. I'm just going to go over congressional districts really quick. All right, so this is a map of the congressional districts in Minnesota. A congressional district is literally just like an area to figure out the people that those representatives are representing. That makes sense. It's literally just a defined area within that state. The purpose of those is to make sure that they have an equal population size. So you might notice that right over here, when you get really close to Minneapolis, the district is like teeny tiny on the map, and then compare it to District 7, where it's like almost a third of the state. It's not going based off land size, it's going based off population size. There should be roughly an equal population in District 5 as District 7. We are in District 6 right here. Oh, right. So within each district, there's only one representative, and district lines can change every 10 years based off the census. So if they find out that there's more people in District 7 than there are in District 6, they might do some things to even that population out. Okay. So still on the same heading, House of Representatives, or HOR, term, they only serve 2 years. That way, if they're not doing a good job representing their district, they are like switched out pretty quickly. There's no limit if reelected, so if they're doing a good job of representing their district, they can keep getting reelected and reelected and reelected. Their election falls on the same day as Election Day. It's Tuesday following the first Monday in November. But remember that they get elected every 2 years. The president gets elected every 4 years. So they get elected the same time as our president, and then 2 years after that, they have another election to see if they get reelected or not. This one right here has a big blank because you should already know this one. A blank is held if there's a vacancy. So if there's a vacancy in Congress, they have if you said special election, you're 100% correct. So in this blank right here, you're going to put a special election. One more time for the remix. In the blank, you're going to put special election. If you need more time to write this down, go ahead and put the video on pause. Push play when you're ready. All right, new heading, the Senate. The Senate has 2 members from each state. So if you do the math, that's 100 total. Their qualifications, they need to be at least 30 years of age or older, a U.S. citizen for 9 years or more, and a legal resident of the state they are elected from. So if you wanted to be the representative for Hawaii, because why not? That sounds like fun. You would have to be at least 30 years old, a U.S. citizen, and you'd have to live in the state of Hawaii, like officially on your address forms and everything like that. Go ahead and put the video on pause. Push play when you're ready. All right, same heading, the Senate. Term, they serve for 6 years. So the reason why the House of Representatives is so short is so that way they get switched out pretty quickly if they're not doing a good job representing their district. Senators, on the other hand, they serve a little bit longer because it takes a long time for legislation to get pushed through Congress. So they're there a little bit longer to make sure that legislation is getting pushed through and we're not getting new people all the time, which would make it really, really hard for them to do anything in Congress, which they already don't. Just kidding. All right, a third of the senators are elected every 2 years. So what they're saying is that they have different start dates. So that way we don't have 100 new senators all at once. We want to make sure that it's a continuous body so they can work on getting all of that legislation pushed through. So we don't want 100 new senators at once. So when you elect a senator, you're only electing one, and then another 2 years later, you would elect the other one. All right, so because we kind of have like these 2 different, because they get elected like every 2 years, it's called a senior and junior senator. So some of them have been been there a little bit longer. Their 6-year term hasn't gone quite up yet. Those are called senior senators. Junior senators are the ones who got elected more recently. Remember, that was just to avoid those 100 new senators all at once in the Senate. There's also no limit if reelected. So if they're doing a really good job representing the people in their state, they can get reelected and reelected and reelected. If you need more time, go ahead and put the video on pause, push play when you're ready. All right, still on the same heading, election for senators. They have a direct election, which means the population of that state is choosing their senators. They also get elected in November on election day, and only one senator from a state at a time is being elected. Of course, if there's special circumstances, like if that senator resigns or is expelled or has died, they may also be holding an election to fill that vacancy. And their term begins January 3rd at noon as well. Our 2 senators from Minnesota, Tina Smith, Amy Klobuchar. The one that was up for re-election this year was Tina Smith. Go ahead and put the video on pause, push play when you're ready. All right, so their term begins January 3rd at noon. Already wrote that down. If there's a vacancy, they have like a choice of 2 things. The governor of that state can either call for a special election, just like the House of Representatives, or that governor can make a temporary appointment until the next election. So they can say, so-and-so is going to fill in for this person until we have the next election. You guys may have remembered the scandal about Al Franken, his sexual misconduct scandal that caused him to be kicked out of office. Governor Dayton at the time put Tina Smith, he made her as the temporary appointment until the next election. All right, if you need more time to write this down, put the video on pause, push play when you're ready. Oh, there we go. All right, so I'm not going to be pairing you up because you guys are distance learners, but you guys are going to be responsible for go ahead and looking through the House of Representatives, comparing it to the Senate, and figuring out their similarities and their differences. Go ahead and give yourself about 5 minutes to do that. Push play when you're ready. All right. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to go to Google Classroom and you're going to open up I'm Just a Bill, and you're going to go ahead and write down the answers to the questions in your notes. So question 1, what are 3 ways to kill a bill or just prevent it from becoming a law? Question 2, what challenges would a bill face if there's a Democratic president and a majority of Republicans in the Senate? All right. So last thing that we're going to talk about in this video is just distance learning and how it's going to work so far. My plan is to have a Google Meets every single day in that allotted class time. So if you're in first block, we'll probably meet at 8:50, 9 o'clock. We're going to have a Google form in order to take attendance, and it'll literally just be like a review question, or maybe even just like a weird question like, would you rather do this or this? That's just for me to take attendance quicker and easier now that everyone's going to be on distance learning. And then your Google Meets, if for some reason you can't make it, like you have a family emergency or anything like that, I will post a video just like I have been for distance learners that goes over the exact same thing. But my expectation is that 90% of people are going to be showing up for those Google Meets. That way you get that social interaction that is really, really important for school and learning. All right, I'm also going to be trying to make sure that there are as less clicks as possible. So I'll have a video and then maybe go to a different site like Padlet in order to write down an answer or do an assignment. Okay, so I'm going to try to make sure there's as few as clicks as possible. I'm going to set my post up about the same where I have the title, directions, contact information, and due dates at the bottom. So far, that's my plan. I know it's not a very detailed plan, but I will let you know more as soon as I know more. If you guys have any questions in the meantime, feel free to contact me.